Cold air burned my lungs as I stood outside the cafe, pretending I needed space. I didn't. I needed timing. My phone glowed in my hand, lighting up the alley like a secret. Scheduled post. Ready. Private upload. Queued. Backups. Secured. Inside, my parents were celebrating 40 years of marriage. Glasses clinked. Laughter floated through the door. The kind of laughter that only happens when people believe a story they've told themselves for decades. They thought I stepped out to calm down. I stepped out to make sure the truth would land. 30 minutes earlier, I'd been sitting at their table, posture perfect, dress smoothed, smile practiced. My mother leaned toward me, still smiling for the guests, her perfume sharp and familiar. Then her voice dropped, quiet, surgical. We wish you were never born. Not angry. Not emotional. Just calm. The room didn't hear it. The band kept playing something upbeat and wrong. For half a second, the world froze, like it was waiting to see if I would break. I didn't cry. I pushed my chair back slowly. The scrape was loud. Too loud. I stood, smoothed my dress, and met her eyes. Then I'll disappear, I said. What they didn't know was that my goodbye had already started counting down. Before that moment, before the sentence that split my life in two, I'd been behind the dessert table fixing buttercream flowers. The cafe smelled like coffee, sugar, and expensive perfume. Warm lights hung overhead like a magazine shoot. My parents posed for photos, glowing, beloved. I'd helped build that image. Ryan, my older brother, held court near the bar, telling surgery stories like he was personally holding the hospital together. People laughed too hard, leaned too close. They needed his approval. Emily stood nearby, polished and brilliant. Law school, clerkships, internships. Every sentence she spoke made heads tilt toward her like she was sunlight. No one asked me about my art. They never did. If my name came up at all, it was an afterthought. This is Mia, my mother would say, almost amused. She draws. 3 weeks earlier, I stopped calling it favoritism. I'd gone to my parents' house with invitation samples tucked under my arm. The dining table was messy, papers everywhere. A folder sat half open. My name was on the top page. Mia Thornton College Fund. I shouldn't have looked. I did anyway. The balance was almost zero. Not spent on tuition. Not books. Not housing. Just emptied. In chunks. Transfers to Ryan's loan consolidation. Transfers to Emily's bar exam expenses. Dates from years ago lined up like a confession. Then I saw my mother's handwriting on one statement. She'll never make money with art anyway. Better to invest in the real futures. My stomach went cold. I heard my father's voice in my head, changing the subject like he always did. I remembered every eye roll when I said the word gallery. Every time I'd been introduced as the extra child. That night, I didn't scream. I didn't confront them. I did something worse. I started paying attention. Because once you see the math, you stop believing the speeches. And I decided my silence was officially over. After I saw the statements, I didn't confront anyone. That's what they would have expected. Tears. Accusations. A messy scene they could later rewrite. Instead, I listened. The first recording was accidental. I was washing dishes at my parents' house, phone in my pocket, screen dark. I stepped into the hallway to grab a towel, and their voices drifted through the half-closed door. My mother spoke first. Sharp. Casual. Art isn't a real career. Sometimes I wish we'd stopped at 2 kids. I froze. My thumb found the record button without thinking. My father answered, softer. But worse. At least the other 2 turned out right. A pause. Then the sentence that settled into my bones. Mia is just expensive decoration. I stood there shaking, staring at the wall, letting the words burn themselves into evidence. After that, it became deliberate. I recorded 10 seconds here. 15 seconds there. Nothing dramatic. Nothing edited. Just truth. Raw and unprotected. My mother complaining. My father excusing. Ryan laughing. She'll be back living at home within a year. Ryan said once, amused. Emily was colder. Precise. She's the practice child, she said. We figured it out after her. Another night, she added. We're carrying her dead weight. Each clip was short, long enough to be undeniable. I saved them in a folder called Audio. I kept smiling. I kept showing up. I kept letting them think I was still small. Then my parents asked me for a favor. Mia, you're artsy, my mother said, already assuming my yes. Make the anniversary party look nice. I smiled. Of course. A week later, I offered another idea, like it had just occurred to me. I could handle the slideshow, I said. A tribute video. Wedding photos. Family memories. My mother barely looked up.
Fine.
Just don't make it weird. Don't. So I made it classic. At least at first. I scanned their proudest moments. Wedding day smiles. Vacation photos. Baby Ryan. Baby Emily. My baby picture shoved to the edge of the frame. Soft piano music. Clean captions. Endless love. Family first. Then I created another folder on my laptop. I named it Truth. Inside, I dropped everything they never thought I'd connect. The recordings. The bank statements. Screenshots of the transfers. A close-up of my mother's handwriting. I paused that frame just long enough to read. Then I layered my art over it. Portraits they'd refused to hang. Faces turning into masks. Smiles cracking at the edges. With their voices underneath, the paintings stopped being art. They became proof. Jess, the cafe barista, was the only person who knew. She watched the rough cut late one night, arms crossed, jaw tight. Don't flinch, she whispered when it ended. We planned the timing carefully, right after the speeches, when emotions were high and no one wanted to leave. I exported the file with a harmless name. Anniversary_final_final, MP4. I made 2 backups. One on the cafe laptop. One hidden in my clutch. And a scheduled upload just in case. By the time the invitations went out, my gift was already waiting in the projector. All they had to do was press play. Dinner that night blurred into clinking silverware and polite laughter. String lights glowed overhead. My father's partners toasted 40 years of success. Ryan spoke first. Confident. Rehearsed. Emily followed, smooth, shining, grateful for the right dreams. Applause washed over the room. Then my mother stood, microphone in hand, smile locked in place. We are so blessed, she said. Our children have made us proud. Her eyes slid past me like I was furniture. Some of them, she added. The room chuckled. Someone suggested I say a few words. My mother laughed too loudly. Oh, Mia, she said. She's better with her little drawings than speeches. That line should have hurt. It barely registered, because I already knew what was coming next. And when it did, everything changed. My mother leaned toward me, still smiling for the room. Her voice dropped low, meant only for my ears. Sometimes we truly wish you were never born. The microphone sat inches from her hand. It caught everything. Silence slammed into the cafe, so hard it felt physical. A fork slipped from someone's fingers and clattered against a plate. The band kept playing, cheerful and wrong, like it didn't know a life had just cracked open. Every face turned toward me. I pushed my chair back slowly. The scrape sounded sharp, final. I stood, smoothed the front of my dress, and looked straight at her. Then I'll disappear, I said. Her smile collapsed. Mia, sit down, she hissed, grabbing my wrist. You're making a scene? A scene is what happens when nobody knows the truth, I said calmly. I turned toward the guests, my voice steady, even though my heart was pounding so hard I could hear it. You all came to celebrate their love story, I said. Do yourselves a favor. I paused. Stay for the sequel. Gasps rippled through the room. My father muttered my name like a warning. Ryan half stood, already angry. Emily's eyes darted, calculating. I didn't wait for permission. I walked away. Chairs scraped behind me. Someone called my name like an order. I passed the sound booth where Jess stood, hand hovering over the control panel. Her eyes asked the question we'd rehearsed. Now? I gave her a small nod. Outside, the night air hit like a slap. Cold and clean. My hands shook as I slipped into the narrow alley beside the cafe, brick pressing into my shoulder like an anchor. My phone buzzed. Jess, they're acting like nothing happened. Jess, ready? I typed back with steady fingers. Press play when they call for the slideshow. Don't stop it. Seconds later. Jess, it's on. Inside, they cheered. A video by Mia, someone announced, clapping politely. I smiled in the dark. The slideshow opened with soft piano and wedding photos. My parents relaxed. Guests lifted glasses. Ryan squeezed my father's shoulder, like the proud son he'd always been allowed to be. Emily dabbed her eyes. Perfect. Then the screen went black. The music stopped. My mother's real voice filled the room. Art isn't a real career. A few people laughed, confused. My mother's smile twitched. The black screen faded into a bank statement. Mia Thornton, College Fund. Balance. $0.20. Gasps moved through the room like a cold draft. Transfers appeared one by one, highlighted. To Ryan's loan consolidation. To Emily's bar exam expenses. Dates. Amounts. Years. My father's voice layered over the numbers. At least the other two turned out right. Someone set a glass down too hard. My mother stood up, hands shaking. That's fake, she snapped. But the next clip cut in before she could breathe. If we hadn't had her, we could have retired. Her words played over one of my paintings, her smile made of glass, her shadow twisting behind her. Ryan lunged for the projector. My father followed, yanking at cords like they could rip the past out of existence. Too late. Half the room was already filming. A neighbor whispered, "Is that her handwriting?" Someone asked, "Did you write that note?" My mother laughed, high and brittle. The sound died fast. Ryan's colleagues stepped back from him. Emily's mentors stopped smiling. My phone buzzed again. Jess, people are crying. Jess, your dad's client is yelling near the bar. Jess, your mom is screaming at the manager. At minute 30, my scheduled post went live. The link opened like a door. Shares climbed. Comments poured in. I hit send on my email draft. Hospital boards, law mentors, my father's top clients. No opinions. No emotion. Just proof. Ryan called first. You destroyed everything, he hissed. Did you use my fund? I asked. Silence. Emily called next, voice breaking. You didn't have to do it like this. You didn't have to laugh either, I said. My father called last. If you take it down, we'll fix this. He offered a new story. He offered me as the unstable daughter. I said no, and I didn't go back inside. I stayed in the alley, listening to the muffled shouting bleed through brick and glass. For years, I'd been the family secret, the thing they hid behind polite smiles and edited stories. Tonight they were. My phone kept buzzing. Unknown numbers. Some messages were cruel, accusing me of being ungrateful, dramatic, unstable. I blocked them without reading twice. Others were quieter. I'm sorry. I didn't know. Are you okay? At home later that night, I sat on the edge of my bed and let the silence exist without trying to fill it. For the first time in my life, I wasn't rehearsing an explanation. I let the truth stay where they had performed it. By morning, the video had escaped my control. News clips played in waiting rooms, cafes, church lobbies. My mother stopped going to church altogether. Ryan's hospital board announced a formal review. Emily's clerkship was suddenly under reconsideration, according to her mentors. It didn't heal my childhood, but it proved I wasn't imagining it. What changed wasn't my past, it was my mornings. I woke up without dread sitting in my throat. I made coffee and answered only respectful messages. I stopped apologizing for existing. I stopped explaining myself to people who fed on silence. Then the art world found me. A gallery owner named Lena emailed first. Short. Direct. I've seen your work. I want to talk. She came to my studio and stood quietly in front of the paintings. The ones built from receipts and bank statements. From recorded voices and shattered smiles. She nodded once. This isn't revenge, she said. This is documentation. She offered me a show. A real one. A title already chosen. Conditional love. I signed the contract with steady hands. For the first time, my future had my name on it. Opening night was crowded and bright. White walls. Clean frames. My work finally had space to breathe. People stood in front of one piece longer than the rest. It was the one titled with my mother's sentence. After the applause faded, my father called. "Your mother's not well," he said. "Can you come talk? Help her?" I closed my eyes. "I don't know," I said honestly. Then I added, "Do not come to my door." Later, I saw my mother outside the gallery window. No makeup. Purse clenched like a shield. Her name lit up my screen. I let it ring until it stopped. I didn't disappear. I just stopped performing for them. Peace isn't forgiveness. It's distance, with the truth intact. If any part of this felt familiar, you're not alone. Like, share, subscribe for more stories about quiet strength. And stay close. The next story is already waiting. 3 months passed. Not quietly, but steadily. The noise never fully disappeared. It just changed shape. My video kept traveling without asking my permission. It showed up in places I'd never been. Waiting rooms, staff lounges, church basements, late-night news segments playing on muted TVs. People argued about me. About my parents. About loyalty. About whether blood deserved silence. I stopped reading most of it. Because my life had started sounding like mine. Ryan's hospital board didn't call me. They didn't need to. The review spoke for itself. His name stopped being said with certainty. People stopped laughing at his stories. Emily's mentors stopped returning her emails. Her clerkship didn't vanish overnight. It just thinned. Opportunities dried up the way trust does when people finally see the math. My father lost clients. Not all of them. Just the ones who cared about reputation more than excuses. He tried to tell people it was a misunderstanding. A private family matter. But truth doesn't care where you think it belongs. My mother stayed quiet. No public apology. No grand statement. Just absence. The kind she'd always wanted for me, except now it wrapped around her instead. And me? My mornings stayed gentle. I woke up without rehearsing conversations in my head. I drank coffee slowly. I answered emails that respected me and deleted the rest without guilt. I blocked numbers that arrived with insults. I kept the ones that arrived with kindness. The gallery's show sold out. People didn't just buy the art, they stood in front of it and went quiet. Some cried. Some nodded like they were finally seeing their own lives reflected back at them. One woman took my hands and whispered, "You said what I couldn't." That's when I understood something important. This was never about ruining them. It was about ending the lie. On the last night of the exhibit, I stood alone in the gallery after closing. White walls. Soft lights. My work breathing in its own space. For years, I'd been introduced as the extra child. Now my name hung clean and centered. My phone buzzed once more. My father. I let it ring. Not out of anger. Out of clarity. Justice didn't look like screaming. It didn't look like revenge. It looked like distance. It looked like records that couldn't be erased. It looked like waking up without shame stitched into my spine. They wanted me invisible. Instead, I made the truth permanent. If this story felt familiar, if you've ever been minimized, erased, or told your dreams didn't count, remember this. Silence protects power. Truth redistributes it. You don't owe anyone your quiet. Thank you for listening. Stay close. More stories are coming.